Hello and welcome to Flory Models Kit Review Time. Today we've got Revell's latest release. This is not the Slave One, apparently, maybe because of political correctness these days. But anyway, this is the Book of Boba Fett, and this is basically Boba Fett Starship. So I don't know why they've sort of dropped the Slave One. You know, let's face it, political correctness might have a point at this one. But definitely. Now, I have been critical, shall we say, outspoken as normal, with some of the box art and some of the pictures about this one, and you know, I'm sure the kit is better from the photos we've seen of it and things like that, if you've been watching any of our live stuff especially. So I've been itching to get hold of this kit so I can see if it is what I think and hope it is versus what I've seen, if that makes sense, because some of the build-up photos of probably the prototypes and that haven't really done the kit justice. Anyway, as you can see down in here, we've got the classic scene being chased before he drops the, you know, all the rest of it. I won't do any spoilers. But anyway, you can see this is 1/8 scale. So again, it's quite big. Bearing in mind we've done the Bandai one, which we'll show you in a minute, which is the 144, I do believe, version of it. It's 36 parts, so there's not a ton of parts in this one, but it is saying it's around about 25 centimetres with the size, with the length of it, so it'd be interesting to see. So this is some of those pictures we were looking at. You know, the painting isn't particularly nice, nor's the build, but the sprue shots that I've seen, which is this, led me to believe that actually I think it's all right, just needs a little bit of work, shall we say. So your kit number for this one is 06785. And again, we've got some more bits down on there, and then we've got it down here on the back. So again, I think this is probably going to have the paint and all the bits and pieces in it, or if not, it's saying it is available. But you can see these are these build-up pictures, which again, I just don't think really do it justice at the end of the day. So what we're going to do is get in here and see what we've got. So as always, I haven't looked in the kit, I haven't been in here yet, or anything else like that. So immediately we are greeted by a big lump. This is why I brought my one down so you can see for scale comparison. So we've got one bag there which has got the sort of paddles, as I call them, on the side, and then we've got the main ship down in here, which gives you an idea of the size of it. We've got something running around loose, which is the figure. Alright, so that gives you an idea down in there. And we've got another one down in here with some of the cockpit areas, the deck, some of the rear parts. And then we've got clear parts, which is quite big, and then this really gives you an idea of the size. We've got the plate, or the foot as I call it, as well, so with the top part on there, so that looks quite nice. But as always, we will start with, I think we've got a little bit of decals, which we do. We will start with the instructions. So usual thing, we've got some build tips, some of the symbols you're looking for, colour call out, and then obviously we're right into it. So again, we've got the actual parts list. It's pretty good, and then we are down and in with it. So again, it's got this way of doing it, which tends to be on their sort of, you know, easier kit, shall we say, which shows you the colours roughly as well, which I think is actually quite a nice touch. Okay, so usual thing, we're going to be going through obviously some of the build sections down in here. So again, you've got the foot sections, we've got these engines, which are the ones that sort of light up as well, down in here, all going in and then building up this section. All right, we've got the actual paddles, as I call them, the sort of winglets on the side, they're down in here as well, so that's pretty straightforward. You've got a bar going through, so they will be posable as well, so it should be a movable part, which is quite nice. So we said more of the parts being added down to this one, and this is what we're saying about that colour call out, which actually isn't a bad way of doing it. It gives you a good idea of how you want to go about it. Then we've obviously got the paddles being fitted down, and those side areas down in there. We've got Boba Fett's basic sort of colour and drawing, as I say, he's quite basic anyway. The cockpit panel, seat being fitted down into there, and then over on the other side, again, some of the colour call outs it's doing right in here as well for some of that sort of the markings on it, and how you're going to have it. Again, I think you're going to have an option down in here, one or the other. I don't think it's a moving part for the actual how it's going to be rotated. So obviously you can have it in flight mode or landing mode. It sort of tilts through 90 degrees. Again, fitted down, and then obviously clear part being put on this one. Again, interesting way they've done it. It looks like it's an option where it opens and closes. Well, obviously it wouldn't do that on the real thing anyway, but it may be just the way that they've built this in and tuck it down in there. Hopefully it'll be a nice fit. The lasers at the back, we've got the bar going right the way through, and we assume the lasers will fit onto those. again. So then we got the foot area being all finished off down in here, the actual top ramp, things like that going down in there. We don't have an option on the ramp opening at the back, it's just in the closed position. The laser cannons being fitted down onto that one, and then obviously the fuselage being put onto the foot. Then we've got the big old tractor type beam, I think it is, on here, being fitted onto the front of this one, and then obviously the final parts being put together on the foot section. Colour call outs right the way through. As you can see, it's not a massively overcomplicated build, but some nice technical things. But again, if you are a Star Wars fan, I think you're going to be going off and finding perhaps different references, film stills, things like that as well. All right, so I don't think that's too bad at all. And again, we've got very limited decals. There's not actually a lot to these. As you can see, it's pretty something or nothing, but again, very nice for what you do get, so I don't think that's a problem either. Right, okay, so let's start with the fuselage halves and little Bobba Fett down in here. Okay, so that's all right. Okay, so this is tied together. There we go. So again, as I was suspecting, it doesn't look too bad. It looks very crisp. The detail looks quite nice on this. I really can't see a problem with it. As you say, it's just the build-up photos just didn't do it well. You got a beautiful mix, to be honest, here of nice recessed and raised detail. So we've got this plating is nice and raised. We've got these sort of strengtheners nice and raised. Various stuff. We've got the piping running down here is raised, as well as very fine, very nice, to be honest, recessed panel lines all the way through. So actually I think that's not bad at all. That's pretty darn good. On the inside there's nothing, because obviously it's all going to be built up from in there. But the reason for me looking, I wanted to see how big these locating areas are and the shapes and what they look like, and it gives me a better idea on who designed this particular kit. So yeah. So anyway, that's pretty good. Exactly the same for the other side. Obviously the details are different from left to right. It's not a mirror on this thing. All right, so again, really pretty darn good. We have got some scraping up there, but that's all right, that will rub out. But actually, that's very nice indeed. Happy with that. So if we look at the foot, because again, this will give us a nice look at the details on this one. So again, we've got the sort of two parts. So if we start with the top, this ramp doesn't drop down, because normally, as you know, this sort of drops down and it allows it through. So it's only fixed one way. But again, you've got probably room in here to cut that out, bring it down, plastic art the sides, and really bring it up to life. But again, really nice details right the way around on this. Looking good. We've got some sprue tabs to chomp off, hack your way through, but yeah, actually looks pretty good. We've got some little details just in here, because the other one fits somewhat recessed into this, as it is here. And this is actually really nice. So you've got some good details. Obviously, if you've ever built anybody else's, you'll know there's a lot of parts go into this. But again, I think with modern injection molding, you know, this isn't one of those areas where you don't have to make it complicated. You could mold it in one and just hand paint all the details into it. So that actually doesn't look too bad at all. So again, lots can be done with this one, and you've got a nice amount of room as well. I'm just thinking about when this does fit in here, you've got a good chunk of room in here. So if you wanted to, you could change these out for LED lighting, you know, and things like that. You've got lots of room, especially if you don't drop the floor. This area in here, you could easily get your wiring and your power all in through there, no problem. And then obviously up into the fuselage. So that's pretty good. So that's nice. Then we've got there we go. So we've got the cockpit down in here, and again, nothing over the top, but actually perfectly functional. And again, this is really, really nice details down in here. Again, beautiful mixture of raised and recessed right the way through, as would be the real thing. So again, I think that's very, very nicely done. And again, I'm sure you've got room as well, if you want to open it up, to have the rear bay open. So with both of those, that's damn good. Again, down in here we've got the guns, the laser cannons, that looks good. We've got obviously the bar. The cockpit's something or nothing, but again, you know, there's not much on it anyway. So take your choices what you've got, the seat, things like that. And again, that's pretty nice. Down in here we've got the engines. So the engine's taken, if I remember rightly, from an F4B. It's still using which the J79 Phantom engines, which were also used on the X-Wing. So yes, obviously from back in the day. Very nice indeed. That's pretty darn good. Okay, last up we've got the paddles. I call them paddles. I suppose they're winglets in theory. I don't know. It looks like a fish, this thing, anyway, so that's a tight bit. Okay, so again, the plastic is all very heavy duty and a bit chunky, but actually I think it's pretty darn good. So this is the side details on here. Everything you would want. I don't think you get much more. Yes, okay, you know, it should be a lot more depth in this and various bits, and we can have a look at the other one in a minute. But generally, I think that's actually pretty nicely done. And then again, for these ones as well, again, look, vortex generators. So yeah, pretty good. No problem. I think that's actually very good. It's good, solid, chunky, almost playful plastic, but it's got a great amount of detail. So last up, we've got the clear parts. So I'm being a bit careful with these. And again, I'm hopeful that this is just absolutely perfect. And it is. Look at that. That's actually not bad at all. So you will see all that gorgeous detail, I don't think, with any problems whatsoever when you're building it. So that's all very, very nice indeed. Let's pop that back and keep that very safe. So just fold that over. Generally, I think it's really, really nice. So what I've got here, just for comparison, this is my old Bandai one, which I did, I don't know, a long, long time ago when it very, very first came out. And this one is all, as you say, it is all posable and all the rest of it as well. And again, when you look, I don't know how well you can see down here, you can see the cockpit is a lot different. Obviously, you've got the single seats, the rear seats down in there and all the rest of it. Little things are different. Obviously, the detail down underneath here is really very much more three-dimensional, lots and lots of detail. On the underside down in here, there goes the cockpit area coming off, so you can see that. I forgot it came off, to be honest. We did it as a soft fit. Down in here, if I manoeuvre the stand out the way, I can get this to come off. Bearing in mind this has sat very nicely since the day I built it. So there we go. That's all the detail that's down into there. So when you compare it to the other one, you can see actually it's not that bad. All the details are there. They're just a little bit more flatter and done, but they are there. That's the point to this. So there's lots of, you know, obviously a little bit more sharper perhaps on the Bandai one because it's a bit smaller, but also from a size comparison, you can see now just how big it is. It is a very, very large lump. You know, there's a lot going on down in here. It's almost double the size. So that's the thing to it. And if I can find the fuselage sides, so again, you can see it is a lot bigger than the Bandai one. So again, you can do lots with it, but the detail is there. It's not just quite as nice and crispy, perhaps as we've seen. But again, this is one of those ones. Again, great one, the Bandai kit. It's absolutely fantastic. It's just if you can get hold of it, because it is a little bit troublesome to find these things. But there we go. It does come on there. The one thing I am surprised, it doesn't come with a stand. I thought it was actually going to come with a stand, this kit. So I'm a little bit disappointed it doesn't. Oh, last up, we have got, as you can see, the man himself, which again, perfectly acceptable down in there. But it just goes to show the size of this ship. I say this is a 144 Bandai one, which sort of goes in with all their other size ships. But this just, yeah, it's a lot bigger. You know, this is only 1/8 scale, so you know, 1/88 scale. So again, if you think about it in 1/72, then you are getting really big with these things, and they actually cost a fortune if you do want one that big. Generally, this one has turned out exactly what I was hoping for. As I say, the box art, what I've seen online, just didn't do it justice. Now I've seen the kit, yeah, and looking at it as well, you could do a lot with this one. You could open up the rear stairwell, and again, if you wanted to, say, get your cues literally off of either the Bandai kit if you want to, or obviously screen stills, and little bits of plasticard, a little bit of scratch building, things like that down in there, and you can actually really sort of turn it into something very nice by adding a little bit more detail. But I think just out of the box anyway, there's tons of detail, absolutely a nice chippy paint job onto it like that. You'll be good to go with that one. So there we go, that's Star Wars sorry, that was not Star Wars, it's Revell's Star Wars Book of Boba Fett 1/88 scale Starship.